Yep, bottom
refrigerator.
or in the
Right hand
crisper. They're either on the bottom shelf or in
Pretty sure
the theater, but
I'm live, huh? Is there anybody out there? We're not seeing anybody on the thing.
no,
What, 1 week? 1 week.
everybody.
They just they presume not there.
Well, you're on, and not. I would
Oh, I know I'm on. Waiting for somebody to show up. I feel so lonely.
literally normally.
Yeah, there'd be two or three. Yeah, we'd already had several comments. So. Yeah, it's quite unusual. Are you sure the notification? Look up my channel on your phone. Really? Is there anybody out there? I'm not seeing anything at this point. Check here. All right, somebody.
That's me.
Yeah. So Henry there. Okay. Well, that's kind of weird. Oh, sorry to get a little bit of a late start here, but in the hospital again. New. Just getting some tests run. I was short of breath yesterday, so went in there to get checked out, make sure it wasn't my heart. And Colton. Hi, John. Don't recall seeing you before. Welcome. It's going to be a fairly short thing tonight because I just got out of the hospital. My daughter is visiting here. Just showed up about an hour or two ago. We're going to be out fishing. Yeah, welcome, John. Usually we have more people, but for whatever reason, I don't see them today. Last week, we didn't make the usual 6 o'clock start time because we were out of town, and on the way back, we came across an accident. We were one of the first people on scene, and by the time that all got dealt with, by the time we got home, it was later. Good thing is only one person got injured. Bad thing is they didn't. So we did good. We showed up, single car rollover, 2 other cars stopped. A couple of ladies were. The guy was standing and kind of staggering around and stuff. And so we rendered aid. Time Eva got a call into 911 and got back, we were already doing CPR on it. So missed last week. This week, a little late because I got a hospital thing. Do you have any particular subject or questions on gold mining you want to address while basically monopolizing the floor here? So, to say, if you have any particular questions, whatever, I would think that would probably be wrong because I don't recall giving administrative privilege to Solar Smith to Brian, probably. Is that you, Brian? that a new channel you've come up with? But anyhow, so John, if you have any questions or whatever, let me know. Aside from that, if that's Brian. Hello, Solar Smith Tube. I'm unsure who you are, but it shows you got not administrator. Okay, I thought that was probably you, Brian. I got some interesting information on various leaching systems, Brian. It's going to be a fairly short uh, live stream because I just got out of the hospital. Everything's going okay, but we had to do some testing, and my daughter just showed up. We haven't eaten dinner yet, so it'll probably be a fairly abbreviated version. I last Monday when we went to Missoula for Ever's doctor's appointment, we went to Plains, Montana, which is where Action Mining is, to investigate this CLS leaching system they have. And hey, Pa. So it was on the way back from that there was that traffic accident. So we were way out there and then got hit quite a bit. So anyhow, we went to Action Mining. The CLS system is a sulfuric acid based system. It operates at pretty low pHs, like below 1 or something like that. And yet, when you go to precipitate zinc, you're supposed to raise the pH up into the 2.5 range or something like that. Paw Patriot says, hi, Eva.
Hi.
And anyhow, so you would have real high sulfuric acid consumption if you're trying to reuse your solution. You're going to have to put a lot of sulfuric acid in and then neutralize it before zinc precipitation, then throw a bunch more sulfuric acid in afterwards. So it's going to have a high sulfuric acid consumption. I wasn't quite able to get to the minimum sulfuric acid pH. He suggests that for optimum power, you use 50% sulfuric acid. All I had was battery acid at the time, and therefore it was 37%. Whether it's because of that or whatever, there was relatively poor dissolution. Okay. Hello, Mr. Lodak. So the CLS, at the moment, I've discontinued testing it because the initial test seemed pretty undesirable, and I got to try and move quickly here. Their Eco Goldex we've done in the past had excellent recovery, relatively good period of time. I put some OxyClean in a test this time, Brian, and that substantially increased a pre-treatment with OxyClean, substantially increased the recovery from the sulfide cons. However, it completely obliterated the spot test. It doesn't work. So that's kind of the plus and minus. The other thing, if you're not going to use the resin absorption desorption circuit, the instructions that were sent to me said use hydrochloric acid to basically neutralize the.
Why that?
I don't know. But anyhow, the hitting it with the hydrochloric acid first, bring the pH down, generated what I believe to be hydrogen cyanide gas. So that is a very risky way, in my opinion, to do that. They do have some other chemical that they have advertised now that you can basically neutralize the action of the Eco Goldex, so then you precipitation recovery. But hydrochloric acid, I'm not a big fan of that because it makes a deadly poison gas. The Eco Goldex in general has shown very poor electrowinning. Laboratory tests confirmed that. Um, the only way I can see right now to reuse Eco Goldex is either to set up a resin adsorption desorption circuit, which adds a fair amount of complexity, nothing ridiculous, but it adds to it, or the possibility of uh, deactivating it by getting rid of the oxygen either through vacuum or heating. Again, that'll take more testing to do that, but still the possibility of reuse on the Eco Goldex. Now, another system I'm using, testing right now, is the hydrochloric acid chlorine system. The hydrochloric acid only has to get below pH of 4, which requires very little hydrochloric acid. I mean, that's basically less acid than vinegar by a substantial margin. So, small reagent use there. And the recovery method mentioned so far has been using sodium metabisulfate to precipitate the gold from the solution once the pH is up above 3 or something like that. I have to look at the note. But that's not difficult to do. And you should be able to make that little thing. It's also, according to the research that I've done, possible that it may in fact work just fine using the hypochlorite at a pH of like 4 or 5, which means you could acidify, put in the hypochlorite, and you're also using salt. Salt synergizes for some reason I'm not entirely sure of. But anyhow, go ahead and use it to dissolve the gold, and then all you have to do to deactivate it is let the chlorine gas outgas. And the hypochlorite that I was using was getting consumed fairly rapidly. So just letting it sit overnight would probably be all you need to do to deactivate it enough that the sodium metabisulfite work. Let me show you something.
Right back, he's going to get something.
I used a 100-gram or 100 cc sample of solution, so that the math is pretty simple. It's like my lab reports units in parts per million, so that would be milligrams per liter, tenth of a liter. Makes the math simple. Anyhow, here, why are you on the white?
Here.
Yeah, here's the precipitate. That's clearly more gold than I had in there. Okay, unless it's making a whole lot of gold that we can't assay. The but I've got other metals precipitated there. So I need to take this and rinse it. This is actually a rinse right now, and then dry it out, and Eva will assay it. So that is our evil plan. I have here, that is the original leach solution. This is the solution after precipitation. Now so far, the chemistry seems to look simple. There's some complications from a physical standpoint. It looks like I'm doing a fair amount of digestion, and therefore it has a tendency to produce a lot of slimes, which makes it possible to filter. This, on the other hand, is how clear you can get it just by settling. It takes a while. It can be done. So what I did was One test I used the standard bottle roll on for agitation when I got way too many slimes. Then I did essentially the exact same test, but instead of bottle rolling it at each 10 minutes, I'd adjust the chemistry and then just shook it and set it down to minimize the physical comminution of the charge and minimize the production of slimes. And by doing that, I got reasonable settling velocity. Yeah, filter via decantation is better in many ways. Agreed, Solar. That's it shows you do know some stuff. Um, the problem was that even trying to do decantation, when I used the bottle roll and it was digesting it, it just created just ridiculous amounts of fine. And so by just doing the shake once every 10 minutes and adjusting the chemistry, it was pretty easy to get this clear a solution. So it seems to me that this system at the moment offers the potential for easy use. These two samples sent to the lab, that's going to tell me. I haven't even really tried to do much of a spot test here, but it doesn't seem to work on this. Send those to the lab. The literature indicates the hydrochloric acid chlorine is a highly aggressive leach. It dissolves it rapidly. That also means you can do less destruction of the gang minerals stuff, which could produce less slime. But it's supposedly fast kinetics here. And once you get it clear, that precipitation with sodium metabisulfite was a fake. Okay? It precipitated well, it settled well. So I'm very hopeful that this methodology will work. I have yet to test direct electrowinning on it. One big problem with this system is when you put in the sodium hypochlorite, it hits the acid, it turns to chlorine. Chlorine is the active ingredient. Chlorine and or chlorates, depending on the pH. And those are short-lived, so that you would probably pretty much setting up a constant addition of sodium hypochlorite, which is easy to do. It comes in concentrated liquid form. It would work fine that way. But it would have to be continuously added. Positive is all you have to do to deactivate the solution, let it sit there. The chlorine outgasses, and theoretically, boom, you're done. This right here seems to show that once you, and all I did here, the only pre-preparation of the solution was just letting it settle and outgas. Yet that stuff that I precipitated with sodium metabisulfate is still sitting there. Hi, Kodak. Yeah, that's going to be especially problematic today because we're going to be leaving pretty early. My daughter just showed up. We haven't had dinner yet. I just got out of the hospital for some tests and such. So it's going to be a bit of an attenuated show. But there's going to be a lot of information in it. I'll watch the play. So the hydrochloric acid chlorine uses a very small amount of hydrochloric acid on the order of less than 5%. Okay. And it's not, you don't have to neutralize it again. So that is highly advantageous from a reagent consumption portion. You also use salt, pretty cheap and easy. And again, it doesn't get consumed that much. And then you have the sodium hypochlorite, which is consumed quite rapidly. But if the chemistry works as aggressively as they're saying. And I mean, it may work as aggressively almost as aqua reed, okay? Um, but it's supposedly a pretty aggressive chemistry. And then all you got to do is let it sit for 24 hours and precipitate out the gold, rinse it, dry it, melt it. Clearly, there's a lot there besides gold. We're going to try an assay type flux, a litharge based flux, to get thorough digestion of all the materials first. But if that works, if this system works, then we will see how much we have to digest and not digest. How much do we need to go litharge, or will a standard melting flux digest all the stuff? Just use like a lead addition, something, the collector metal. Don't know, but first question is how much dissolved, how much precipitated out. That's what those samples really say. So I'm kind of looking at the hydrochloric acid chlorine. It's a very simple system. It's I mean, you can get everything you need off the shelf. You need hydrochloric acid, Home Depot, pretty cheap. You need salt, off the shelf, pretty cheap. This the SA. I'm not sure what you mean by A, solar. Uh, Nothing comes.
This LS
Yeah, not
action.
CLS, action mining, totally different. Okay. Um,
Central America.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Central
Yeah,
America.
it's the Central America sulfide concentrate. Exactly. So, yeah, that's what I'm researching because they need to do the best job they can to make as much money as quickly as they can. That's one reason why, although the Eco Goldex does pretty good recovery, currently it's also got some inconsistencies, and I'm not sure why. That's going to take time to figure out. And then also, not sure if we can get safe, simple zinc precipitation on. And if not, then we probably have to go to an ion exchange adsorption desorption circuit, which again adds complexity, cost, and time to the whole situation. On the other hand, hydrochloric acid chlorine, you got hydrochloric acid, which is simple. You got salt, which is easy, and then you need hypochlorite. Now, typically this has sodium hypochlorite, but I see no reason why calcium hypochlorite, basically cool chlorine. The active radical is the hypochlorite, not the calcium sodium. They take no part in the reaction, so I don't see why one would be that much more important than the other. Should be able to replace one to the other. Cool, solar. And so anyhow, that's. I'm kind of leaning towards this right now, but it's, see these two question marks here? That was a real big question mark. Okay, if these are both good, then very interesting. Plus, this is actually digesting sulfides to some extent. Okay, and therefore it might get as good a recovery as a OxyClean Eco Goldex dissolution. Thing is, getting it back real simple. Just let it settle and sit, and that'll let the chlorine go bye-bye. Clarify the solution. Move to a clean container. Add your sodium metabisulfate. And it precipitates pretty well. You can probably see how it's slowly settling here. I just put rinse water in when I came home. Yeah, this is kind of what I'm thinking about now as probable first one. Now, there's not that this will not work on a heap leach because this is a very fast chemical. You throw the hypochlorite in there, generate the chlorine or the hypochlorite, and short time it's gone. That's not going to work on a heap leach. That would be a tank leach. On the other hand, Eco Goldex works fine on a heap. So if you add a significant amount of heap leaching, you definitely do not want to mix these two solutions. You don't want to be using a lot of acid in the same area you're using a lot of Eco Goldex. That way you can get something called a lot of hydrogen cyanide. Huh. Kodak.
Way to go. Happy stacker there. Lucky you.
Yeah, I say for a vat leach, something like that, it would work fine because especially with a vat leach, you could set up a feeder to maintain a constant flow of hypochlorite. And if you don't need it too long, I mean, we're talking in the neighborhood of, a 1 or 2 hour dissolution time. It's supposedly really quick. We shall see. If this sample here shows real high dissolution, then what I got to do is do the same test, pulling samples on a short time frame, like every 15 minutes or something. But it may work out well. I don't know yet. I'm cautiously optimistic. And it might also work just fine if you added a flocculant. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff you could use, Brian. If you had a liquid chlorinating agent, which is very common stuff, you could use a variable speed peristaltic pump too. Yep, exactly. The one advantage of the solid is that it doesn't have the hydroxide in it. Using a liquid, it's got to have a fairly strong hydroxide, which is then going to neutralize your hydrochloric acid to some extent. So, at the moment, and you know what that happens from time to time, it's looking pretty interesting, but it's far from proven, checked out at each stage. So I've got to work it through until I've got a gold bead here. And that should be about 0.015 grams of gold, which will be readily observable and detectable. It's not going to be easily weighable, but I can measure the size of the bead, get a good estimate, see how close we are. And besides, the question, if here is your pregnant solution, there's your barren solution, what's the difference? That tells you what you precipitated. So, I say it's looking fairly easy to use. Hey, Noblish. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut this fairly short because my daughter's visiting. Go get some dinner here shortly. But say that's the situation. You can watch the replay and get it. This is where I'm right at the moment. Trending toward if you were going to use a heap leach in your system, like a tank leach dumping onto a heap, something like that. Eco Goldex with a resin absorption surface probably the best way. Not really considering precipitating things. Now, it might precipitate just fine with sodium metabisulfate. I don't know. Supposedly we have the chemicals on order from Eco Goldex to do their precipitation. Okay. If you're going to do a precipitation, basically that means a high grade, low volume product. Then I think the hydrochloric acid chlorine has real potential, but I gotta confirm a lot of stuff first. So that's where I'm at. Hey Lars, how's it going? Um, and in terms of testing, I was having shortness of breath on Sunday, so went to the emergency room. They weren't sure. They couldn't rule out a heart issue, especially as they know there's at least one somewhat blockage in my heart. So um, they kept me overnight. They monitored my blood oxygen. They had me on a heart monitor all night long, checking things out. And then this morning, they did a chemical stress test, which nowadays is even more complicated because they throw radioactive tracers and stuff. But it allows them to, with fairly good detail, visualize the blood flow to the heart muscle without the invasive catheterization. And they did all that. The cardiologist was like, yeah, your heart's doing pretty good considering you had a heart attack 6 months ago. But aside from that, there's nothing of concern. Apparently, the shortness of breath is most likely some kind of neurological situation, having trouble controlling itself a little bit. So that will be investigated. No, none of the doctors seem to think it posed any kind of a significant risk of death or anything terribly. So we'll just be working the issue, find out what it is. My personal thought is, due to the proximity in time where they had to go into my head and block off some blood vessels, then after that I started getting these shortness of breath episodes, and it also seems to be correlated to a great extent with my mental state. By that I mean when I'm dozing off. I'm in that transitional state between wake and sleep. That's when I tend to get this sudden burst of sort of thing. So that's why I think, okay, they messed with my head, and now I got something that seems more neurological than physiological. The lungs seem to be operating okay. I can exercise a reasonable amount without gasping for air. It's not the heart. Well, I think maybe something happened when they did that embolization that may have caused this. It may just be a temporary situation. My sinuses are still sore from rhino, but they are getting better. So um, that's my thought. Yeah, and I agree, Brian, that just an auger bit makes an excellent heater screw. I would think. So basically, that's the update. Does anyone have any questions, subjects, or whatever they want to address tonight before we head out to dinner? No big rush, but to a certain extent, yeah, Kodak. Hello, Jean-Francois. Um, it's a fairly short uh, live stream tonight. My daughter just showed up, and we got to go out to dinner yet. So we're going to be cutting it off here pretty quick.
And yes, Jean-Francois, we watched that video you sent. Thank you.
Thank you. And did some overview on some of the leaching systems I've been doing some testing on, what I found out so far. So that's the situation. Should get a little bit of testing done this week, not much, because Bonnie's here. We're going to go fishing for a few days. We'll be based at the house, and then we'll just drive out, around noonish each day, go fishing till we decide to come back. We're going to start out trying to go long enough that we also get some after dark, because last year, this location, after dark, there were some areas that were pretty good. And we've come up with some ideas to see. So we're going to have some fun, but I'm pretty sure I'm doing a little bit of lab work in the mornings. I got to go out to the mill, uncover the pad. Right now we got 6 inches of snow on the ground. Something like that. It's snowing the last 24 hours. So yeah, Noblish, that's mostly what I'm going to be doing this winter. Uh, what we're going to be fishing for is basically whatever bites. What we're going to be catching primarily rainbow trout, average size 1 to 2 pounds, and we're going to hopefully catch some walleyes, but that's going to be purely luck. Well, your family too, but she's paying for dinner, so what am I supposed to do, huh? But anyhow, yeah, the place we're going is a world-class rainbow trout fishery. The walleyes are generally small, and they try. I mean, there's like, I don't know if there's even a limit. There is a limit, like 20 of any size. So uh, that's where we're going. The last time, one evening after dark, I caught 13 fish between dark and midnight. So shell state. But we're going to give it a heck of a. It's going to be a bit cold. It's currently what, 40 degrees outside or something? Yeah. I don't know. It's fairly cold outside, but the roads are. It's warm enough during the day. All they are is wet. Yes, they do. Uh, Noblish, the walleye are a less glamorous species. This particular stretch of the Missouri River, um, downstream of Fulter Dam, is considered a world-class rainbow trout fishery, and they get people from all over the world. But they're finding out that walleye are also a pretty popular fish. So I'm not sure how this is all going to work out. Walleye, I mean, the only thing worse than walleye basically is northern pike. Northern pike, you can pretty much do everything except shoot them with a gun or blow them up. I mean, you can arrows, spears, anything like that, no limit, because they're so voracious and they eat all the other fish. That yeah, they don't care. Get rid of the pike. No, my daughter is at my house, Noblish. Yes, I am in Montana. We're in Helena, Montana. She's from Las Vegas, Nevada, and she drove up here and we spent say a couple days fishing, drive back, and so we'll have. We had a good time last year. Yeah. We kicked some fish, and when you're catching a 2 pound rainbow on 6 pound line, it's a pretty good fight, you know. But you're not completely overwhelmed either. You're not just gonna, oh crap, and I'm gonna lose another one. As long as you keep off the bottom, they don't generally get down, stay up high enough. You can fight those risks. Yeah. I've heard that they're fine eating fish. I just haven't caught one. No, the northern pike. No, okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's worm. Yeah. That was worm. Yeah. If the hook gets hooked just right on the jaw, the line doesn't get caught. Yeah, they're pretty toothy critters. So anyhow, and we're also going to try out some lures that my daughter bought me.
Hold on, he's got something to show y'all.
And these just look so cool that we just have to try them out. They should cast really well, and they should pull back pretty deep. A bullet lure, and we shall see how that works out. I'm going to kind of save them until we're hitting fish, because I'm sure we're going to lose them on the bottom pretty easily. Anyhow, with reference to Eva's condition, she continues to heal up from the first surgery, and she's going back for a second surgery on the 22nd to remove some lymph nodes. So we'll see how that. What's the second? Wednesday? Okay, so we should have a live stream that week. We also have another little house guest. Yep. I agree, Jean-Francois. I haven't tried pike, but yeah, walleye is really good. You can fillet them reasonably well. So that is our evil plan. Anything else? Any other questions or subjects that we need to deal with tonight before we go out and get some food? Lars said Chihuahua, my favorite flavor. Lars is quite the joke.
Hi. A rocket tank. Oh, okay.
A literal rocket scientist. It works at JPL.
Yeah, I explain.
Yep. Anyhow, well, I think that's about it for tonight, folks. And I will keep working on the chemistry and keep you informed and see where it goes from there. But I really need to push that because those guys are counting on me to come up with a method. I also have yet to get a response to my query: have they put the VDR mat in the tailings discharge of the mill yet? And because that could be really important. Tailings is still running, like a tenth of an ounce to the ton, and there's a lot of weight of it. So if they can easily scavenge most of the sulfides and pre-milling gold out of the tailings, might be quite a significant amount. All righty, well, I think we're going to call it a night here and get some dinner. We'll keep you guys updated. You'll probably see some fish on the video by the end of the week.
Happy prospect. Safe out there, everybody.
Take care.